Good morning. This is day 2 of the 100-day tracing challenge. I'm Brian and this is Clinical Equipoise. I really appreciate those of you who endured through me with the first video, and I'm excited to be able to do the second day of tracing. So I'm going to import the same photo again of the rose. I feel like I am quicker this time to try to use my fingers, but I just missed the little square a bunch of times. That's why I was zooming in and out on the canvas. Adding my second layer for the line art. And dropping my opacity so that I can trace over it and see my markings. I still don't know very much about brushes, so I'm kind of just playing around with them to see how they feel, and I haven't really landed on a single brush when I do my tracing. I will admit that I like the pen more than the pencil because I like it to be bold. Now, some of you may be wondering why I do the same photo over and over again. And part of it was laziness, to be honest with you. I mean, I've been wanting to create digital art forever, and one of the first stumbling blocks I reach each time is, what should I draw? What should I draw? Every time I open the app, I can't really think of anything worthwhile to draw, and part of that is because I don't think that I have the skill to create anything worthwhile. And so I don't know what kind of drawing is too complex. And if it's too simple, like stick figures, then sometimes it takes the fun out of it. Which is why I decided to do tracing, and to kind of help make it easy for me to wake up every day and spend 10 minutes on Procreate, I decided to just trace the same photo over and over again. So I feel like it decreases one of the barriers I was having to being successful at, logging hours on Procreate by taking away the responsibility of having to come up with something to draw. The other thing that I thought would be really cool about tracing the rose is I'd be able to see a timeline of my progress on the same standardized artwork. So it'd be really easy to compare how I was on day 1 and how I performed on day 100. I talked about in the last video about efficiency and how I want to be able to create beautiful works of art but not feel like I have to spend all day doing it. Like when you have ample time, then sometimes you can get around things by doing bad habits or doing it the wrong way. And I'm hoping that the 10 minutes can really help me to focus and narrow down and learn the best way or an efficient way to do things. So I'm making a few mistakes, going through and erasing them, but for the most part I felt like it was lightning fast compared to last time. You can see that some of my strokes are really heavy and some of them are really thin. I don't know if that really even matters to me. So at this point I'm like, yeah, this looks great. I'm crushing it. Day 2 and I'm like already done with the challenge. But then I was like, when I take away the background photo, how do I know which areas are supposed to be light and dark? And so after pondering a little bit, I decided I would add some lines to kind of show the contrast and shading. And I wanted to switch to something that was a little bit less bold than the pen, so I just chose the Procreate pencil. I just chose the Procreate pencil because I figured since it had the Procreate name in it, that maybe it was like the pencil they sponsored or something, and it would be one of the better pencils, which is probably absolutely stupid, but that's why I chose it. So I only have 10 minutes and I didn't want to waste time trying 100 different brushes. So I'm just kind of messing around trying to figure out how dark or light I want it to be. Just outlining the overall like shapes of the areas of darkness to kind of give the rose that three-dimensional feel, but not really shading them in. I'm hoping that this is just laying a map for the future coloring and shading. And now that I am adding the audio after doing the tracing, I can realize that I missed a petal on that left lower petal. I think of it as a shading, but it should be two separate petals. But yeah, this is for fun, and the mistakes are the purpose of doing it, so I can fail quickly and learn from those failures even more quickly. So I switched off the background color, and I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I was like, yeah, it's not gorgeous, but you can definitely tell it's a rose. Like, maybe it's an abstract rose, but it's a rose. I'm like, okay, I'm going to color this in. Let's make layer number 3. And while I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking, like, when do you know when to make a new layer? And, like, how many different layers do you need to make? Do you have to have a layer for the rose and a layer for the stem? And I switch over to the color palette, and I realize that it only comes like preloaded with 4 palettes, and none of them really have a red rose color. So I'm kind of just like scanning through the cards to see if they're different, but of course they're not. They're the same palettes, just in a different format. So I decided to just choose a palette and then to adjust it on the color wheel. So after wasting some time doing this, I just went with the Flourish palette and then tried to make a similar red. I've since I'm about ready to drop the color into the palette, and I realized that I didn't do the due diligence of connecting all the lines. So if I drop the eyedropper thing on a petal that doesn't have the lines closed, then the palette will turn all one color. And you'll see that I accidentally do that with the color black as I bring it over to fill. And my time's up, and true to myself, I just pause right there. I think some things to work on this week is the color palette. I know that you can just select a color from the photo and you can create a color palette from the photos. And so I'm going to work to do that and then kind of figure out how to move forward with the layers. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe. And I hope that you'll join me on this journey and post some of your own tracing for the 100-day tracing challenge as a crash course into Procreate.